Welcome to Miracle Network's Wednesday meditation. I'm so glad we're all here together. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to click the subscribe button below to receive updates and notifications. Today we're joined by Nick Arandes, who will lead us in meditation. Then we have 20 minutes of silence. After that, we open it up for sharing, and we end at 10:45. Over to you, Nick.
Okay, welcome everybody. And what I always say is that meditation is it's more like being aware. It's just being conscious. In the talk that I was having with Keith Kavanagh a few days ago, when I said that forgiveness, because obviously most of you here, or maybe all of you here, are actually uh, comfortable and familiar with the Course in Miracles language. Forgiveness is actually a consequence. I mean, is the consequence when we don't believe the content of the mind. That's basically it. So to live in a perpetual state of forgiveness is not believing the content of the mind. And that's what I'm going to lead you in this meditation. So technically speaking, living in a state of forgiveness is meditation. It's a permanent meditation. It's not something that is going to happen only for a short period of time throughout the day. Is going to be your life. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, if you feel like, I'll invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable with that. And Teresa, you can start with the bell and let's see where this leads to. Right now, what is happening right now? I asked that question just so you can notice the thoughts that appear that are trying to answer the question. And these thoughts are just like passing clouds. But the answer to the question is very simple. What's happening right now is what's happening. That's all. In every moment in our life, whatever is happening right now is just what's happening. So what's wrong with what's happening right now in every moment of your life? Because sometimes you may say, God, I mean, what's happening right now, I don't want it. I don't like it. Or you may even say, I like what's happening right now. But in reality, what's taking place is that what's happening right now is just what's happening. That is the peace that surpasses all understanding always. But the moment that we begin to describe or label what's happening right now, we are no longer aware of what's happening right now. We're only aware of our interpretation. We're aware of the narrative, but not of what's happening right now. So I ask you again, what is happening right now? And notice how the mind may say, well, I am in meditation. I am listening to these words. I am in a Zoom meeting. But you see how that is just a distraction? If we don't see that, we will walk throughout the day judging what's happening right now in accordance to our interpretation. And if we like what is happening right now, meaning if we like our interpretation, we say, I'm happy. But if I don't like the interpretation, I say, I'm not happy. But both the belief that I'm happy because of this is what's happening, or the belief that I'm not happy because this is what's happening, it's a lie. It's an interpretation that is overlooking what's really happening. And what's really happening is just what's happening. It's that simple. So if this is this simple, why is it overlooked? Because what's happening is just what's happening until the thought me appears. Because now what's happening, it has to do with me. Look what's happening to me. If I like what's happening to me, I think that I am happy. If I don't like what's happening to me, I feel I am not happy. But that's me. That idea of a me is what overshadows the truth, which is I am. I am is not personal. I am is the sense of being. Right now, you're being. As a matter of fact, you are always being. Can you not be? Really look into it. Can you say, I am not? You are being, your pure beingness. Beingness has no name, has no gender, has no purpose, has no agenda. It simply is. How do you feel as you rest in beingness? Don't answer the question, because if you do, you went back to the mind. But I'm just pointing to what is always, until a judgment or an evaluation appears. So right now, even if you had your eyes open, even if you're in the midst of a conversation, even if you are in the middle of downtown traffic, it doesn't matter what the appearance may look like. Without the mind's interpretation, all that there is what is. All that is happening is what's happening. If you don't judge it or label it or try to describe it, if there's anything wrong with it, and in the same token, if you don't judge it or describe it or label it, is anything right with it? No, it's not right, it's not wrong. It's simply what is. So let's look at this moment right here, this moment. Even if you may be experiencing sensations, feelings, even if thoughts are appearing in this moment, just be. That is also known as looking. What is your experience, or what is the experience right now, if you are not judging the experience? in any way, shape, or form. What if you were feeling restlessness right now? Okay, that's just what happens. If you don't judge it, it's just what happens. Again, without answering the question, I am pointing to what is your experience, or what is the experience right now? It's just what is, you see? Is the what is without any labels or any judgment. Is that what is experiencing fear? Without a thought, it cannot. Is it worry? No, because if there's no thought about future, there's no worry. Is there guilt? Resentment? No, because if there's no thoughts about the past, so then what's happening right now? What's happening is what's happening. Using the language of A Course in Miracles, this is what is referred to as the holy instant. So technically speaking, meditation in the way that is presented here is living the holy instant always. Living in a perpetual state of forgiveness, meaning forgiveness is the consequence when you don't believe the content of the mind. But for us not to believe the content of the mind, we have to look at the root cause, which is the thought me. These are my thoughts. These are my feelings. This is who I am. Well, let's put it to the test. Are you choosing the thoughts, or they appear in you? They appear on their own. And if not given attention, they disappear on their own. Are you choosing your feelings, or they simply appear? Without any meaning projected onto them, they appear and they disappear. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, they are not who you are, although they appear in you. When you're sleeping and you're dreaming, whatever happens in the dream is not who you are, and yet they appear in you. So right now, what's happening? Nothing is happening. Or you could say everything is happening. Doesn't matter. It's simply what's happening. Take that attitude to every moment in your life, and you live happy, in spite of the feelings and sensations that may appear, in spite of the thoughts that may appear, in spite of the seeming circumstances. You're happy. Why? Because you are. Not because you say, I am happy because blah, blah, blah. No, you're happy because you are. And happiness, by the way, is not pleasure, and is not a particular feeling or emotion or a sensation. Happiness is peace. peace and happiness are synonymous. Sometimes you're laughing, sometimes you're not, but you're at peace, meaning you're happy. And don't take anything I'm saying as the absolute truth. Put it to the test. Do your own investigation. Look at where these words are pointing. If I ask you, are you at peace? And you say no, and I ask you why, you're going to tell me a story. That's the story that is overshadowing the underlying peace, the underlying happiness that you are. Not that you have, not that you will experience, but that you are. If there's no me, if there's just beingness, I could ask you, are you living life or is life living you? A thought may say, I am living life. Then they ask you, does that mean that you're the one choosing to breathe? Because without the breath, you could not be alive, right? You're not even aware that you're breathing unless I bring it up. Well, what is the cause of your breathing? What is causing you to breathe? So once again, let's go to something that is very, I would say, digestible, I guess, something you can actually accept, and that would be right now. What's happening right now? Without any thoughts, what's happening right now? And that is a fact. That's not theory. What's happening without any judgment or interpretation is what? It simply is. With judgment or interpretation, is still being, but is now experienced as whatever the interpretation may suggest. But once again, right now, without believing the content of the mind, what remains? What remains is what is, and you are that. So we'll remain in silent for the rest of the time. I'm just simply going to quote from A Course in Miracles, where it says, if you're willing to renounce to be the guardian of your thought system and open it to me, I will correct it very gently and lead you back to God. In other words, if you're willing to just allow things to be as they are, without any narrative of the mind, the correction is the peace that you are. Leading you back to yourself to now, to the place you've always been, that you never left, but it was mistakenly, just for a while, overlooked. But not anymore. Now we rest in peace. Always.
Open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 20 minutes left for sharing. If you'd like to share, raise your hand and I'll invite you to take yourself off mute. Linda.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
I was getting into that really well. I was in it And then my son popped in,
Okay.
and the thoughts, well, I answered him, and my granddaughter had passed her driving test yesterday, and I'd got a card and some money for her. And he said, and so we were thinking, oh, I want to get back to this. I want to get back. And the thought was, I want to give it to her now, today.
Yeah.
So he said, oh, I'm not seeing her till Sunday. So I said, well, I'll take it over. He said, no, I'll see if I can bring her to here. And then he went. But my mind was still in those thoughts. And gradually, just before the ting again, I was just coming back into that lovely nothingness, really. But it did, I thought, this was meant to be, showing me how easily distracted we can be. So, yeah, I just thought I'd share that. I was just loving it. So I'm thinking, I'll get this back up and do it all over again.
Mm.
So the thoughts, with my granddaughter and my son, they're still there. It's difficult
Mm.
um, to not have them. So just let them
Mm.
be.
Okay. This is very interesting because when you were in meditation, or if you want to call it meditation or whatever, that was just what's happening, right?
Yes,
Then your daughter comes in,
my son,
right?
son.
Your son,
Yeah,
and that's just what's happening. Nothing wrong with that. But then the mind goes into, oh man, I got out of the space that I was, and now it's judging what's happening. But if instead of judging what's happening, you see, okay, I was feeling tranquil for a moment. Then my son came up. That's what came up. That's just what's happening. You see, you remain in the meditative space all the time. But see, the mind is beginning to make believe that you have to be in this space all the time. And if you have lost something, but you have never lost anything, it's just that you went back to the belief that you went back to believing whatever the mind is trying to tell you.
yeah,
My son came. That's just what happens. And then I went back into the space. That's just what happens. Then the bell rings. That's just what happens. You see? And then there's not a big deal. It's just because that's life. That's the experience of being a quote unquote human being. So if you don't label this part of it, I like it, and this part I don't, then you're at peace no matter what. And that is actually where this is pointing to. So yeah, in your case, your son came about, and that's it. That's just what happens, and that's it. That's life.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who would like to share? Jim.
Yes, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Nick. One question that came up in the meditation was what determines how life unfolds? Because it does seem to be affected in some way by our judgments, in the sense of if we look at the world at the moment, life is unfolding, or a dream, if you like, the dream is unfolding in a particular way.
Mhm.
But you mentioned everything is just life unfolding, which I get a
Yeah.
sense of. But I'm just curious what actually determines how it unfolds.
Well, that is a mystery question that is impossible to answer because I don't know. I have no clue what is the next syllable is going to come out of my mouth, and yet see how it's unfolding. See, you asking a question is part of life unfolding. Now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that you said that judgment is what determines how life unfolds. Did you say that? Or did I hear it wrong?
Well, it seems to influence because again,
Okay,
I don't know whether you're making a distinction between life and the dream.
got it.
You may well
I
be.
think, okay, judgment does not influence how life unfolds because that is suggesting that we can actually overtake God's will. Life is unfolding already, whether we like it or not. Judgment, on the other hand, is what takes the unfoldment of life and makes it into whatever we want to make it. For example, Linda was meditating, life was unfolding, right? Her son comes in, life was unfolding, not a problem. That's life unfolding. However, if she believed the judgment that says this shouldn't have happened, she experienced the consequence of that judgment. But if she does not make any judgment about it, it doesn't matter. But the fact that her son came when it came, that's life unfolding. So the judgment, what it does is that makes the unfoldment of life either a miserable experience or a wonderful experience, you see? And what I was saying is that don't believe any judgment of the unfoldment of life, nor the positive nor the negative, because you're going to be always at the effect of your judgment. But if you see life unfold, because it's unfolding anyway, this is the point, you see? So then that's what it is, you know? So the holy instant is seeing life unfolding as opposed to judging life unfolding, because what's going to happen is going to happen anyway. You know, the question is, am I identified with the ego thought system, which is the judgment, or am I identified with the Holy Spirit thought system, which is the seeing? And then you see how it happens, you know. So sun comes in when I'm in the middle of meditation. Well, sun comes in the middle of the meditation. Sun leaves in the middle of meditation. Sun leaves in the middle of the meditation. Then I get into the meditation, the bell ring. Bell, you see, it's just a happening, life happening. That's it. End of story.
Yes, thank you, Nick. So we're affected by our judgments and never by life. We're not affected by life. We're only affected by our judgments.
Well, we are life.
But are we affected? So what I'm not clear about here is to what extent, you know, the world being the way it is at the moment is the effect of our judgments, or whether it's just life unfolding in a mysterious way.
Well, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Are you talking about the world, or are you talking about your world? Because you're seeing the world in one way, I'm seeing it differently. So then which world we're talking about? You see? But how about, I think was Rumi the one who says, between right or wrong, there's a field, I'll meet you there. So the invitation here is to meet you there. Not what you think the world or how I think the world is or what should have happened. Or I don't know. I have no clue. All I know is that right now, the world that I see is assumed in front of me, and that's it. I don't see anything else. Everything else is memory, thoughts. And then the mind engages in that, you see? But the truth of the matter is all that there is what is. And if you don't believe whatever the thought is trying to say, it's just what is. And you rest in that peace no matter what. And you are, I will say, I am where I am. I have what I have. You see? And I am with or without. If I am with or without, see, life is always this. This is it. And this is a fact. This is not theory. I mean, we can speculate about all kinds of things, but the fact is, this is it. So what's happening? You see, if you don't let the mind go in with its own interpretation, this is what's happening. Whether you're in the middle of a battlefield or in the middle of a church or in the middle of a park or here, the answer is always the same. What's happening? This is happening. And if this which is happening, you leave it alone, then you're resting in the peace that surpasses all understanding and just watch life unfolding. If you believe the content of the mind, you have overlooked the peace that passes understanding, and life will continue to unfold anyway, but it's going to be a miserable existence because things are not going the way I think they should. Man, I was meditating, my son had to come in. No, that's just life happening. You see? Just life happening. That's it. And you're resting in beingness, and that's the invitation. You see, so that's why I'm saying that this meditation was not a 20-minute thing, it's your life. If you carry this along with you, now everything is welcome. Nothing is out of order. And that's why A Course in Miracles talks about the happy learner. The happy learner is the one that accepts everything as it comes without suggesting this should or this shouldn't. Because the happy learner allows me to look at the experience and see how am I identified with the content of the mind. You see? So now you're just resting in beingness. And this is practical. This is not esoteric. You can put it into practice right now. Just don't believe whatever the mind is trying to tell you and what remains. And don't let the mind trying to tell you what remains, because what remains is what is. And this is it.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Norman, take yourself off mute. You're still on
You
mute,
need
Norman.
to, you're still on mute. You still muted. I cannot hear you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
There
there
you
we
go.
go.
I'm not used to this wee phone. No, it was lovely. It reminded me of an interview with Paul McCartney, and
Oh yeah.
he was explaining that Mother Mary had come to him because he'd been having a really bad time, and he penned a wee song called "Let It Be, Let It Be. There will be an answer. Let it
Yeah.
be." And I just thought that's just fitted in lovely with everything you've been saying. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, that song is a great. It's a real. I mean, if we really listen to it, that's it. I mean, everything I've said over here, I could just play that song. That would have been it. You know. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, who'd like to share? I'll jump in here. I had a bit of a synchronicity this morning with what you shared and what the experience I had this morning. Every morning I start the day by say, Holy Spirit, what would you have me know today? And I just scribble out whatever comes to me. And it was basically, it was what was coming to me was be here now. You have a busy mind, just be here now, enjoy this moment. And it was very much about what you were talking about. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Be here now. And then we can add, can you not be here now?
Yeah.
See, you're always here and now. It's always, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Just notice how the mind takes the be here and now and turns it into some kind of a fantasy or whatever. But in the end, here we are. So that's a great, I think the Holy Spirit spoke straight through right here. It says, you know what? It's very simple. Don't believe your thoughts.
Yeah.
And where you are.
Yeah.
Here. Now.
Yeah. And who'd like to share? Josh.
Hi there. Yeah, that was a really good one. It was interesting for me to see the kind of fear. It almost feels like when I drop all of this stuff, it's almost like being blind. And there's a part of my mind that can panic and be like, well, I'm missing something, or there's I might not see, I might not preempt something. I suppose those are what the worries think they're doing. And it was also interesting to see, for me, the judgments it was less about happy, sad. It went from there to guilt, personal guilt at not being happy. So that I could see that at play very clearly. Like, and that's probably the bigger tension than being happy or sad. It's like, this is right or wrong, or I've done something wrong because I'm not experiencing bliss. And then without all of that stuff cluttering my consciousness, there was loads more space, which is cool and is also was unnerving, because it's like, oh my God, all this space. So yeah, interesting to see what is unsettling to me and what's comfortable to the mind, just like keeping going, filling the space and keeping busy.
Yeah, thank you. It's very interesting because all of that can only be unsettling or settling to a me. But without the me, all these are just passing clouds. So what now we want to pay attention is that when I'm sharing a story about something, these thoughts or this whatever, who am I talking about? Am I talking about who? Because if there's no me, which is actually where this is actually pointing to, a sense of identity, then thoughts cannot do anything. They cannot be settling or unsettling or everything. And this is when that's investigation that now we're just inviting. You know, there's still a sense of a me that feels this way. But without making things complicated right now, if I asked you not to identify with any thoughts, not even the thought that suggests there's an emptiness, not even that, just kind of like a passive observer, you know, then the thoughts, even the thoughts that suggest there's an emptiness, or I should feel happy, or I feel guilty for not feel happy, then you begin to see that these are just thoughts that are passing by, you see, but they have nothing to attach to, you see. So the fear is that if I let go of my sense of identity, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to die. No. The identity itself is a thought. If I ask you, how do you know you are you? That's a very good question. How do you know you are you? And the answer usually comes, I know that I am me because, and that's a thought, you see? Without the thought, how do you know you are you? Without the thought, without the narrative. Without the narrative, all that there is what is, you see? And this is something you cannot talk about, but you cannot negate it. That's what I say. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you are, but you cannot negate the fact that you are. See? And that are-ness, that pure are-ness, just the being, does it feel any threat? Does it feel any concern? Without the thought, what does it feel? What is it? It's just life. So now you're pure life. Life just is, you know? So this is kind of like where now we're heading to. We're heading to the fact. The fact is that you are. Right now you cannot not be. You're, the moment you wake up in the morning, before the mind registers anything, you are. Let me give you an example. When I was at a hospital for a outpatient's colonoscopy, right? They put me in anesthesia, right? Because I want to do it that way. I don't need to watch the show. so they put me in the anesthesia, and this is something you can all put it into, well, you could see it if you really are willing to kind of remember this. So when I was coming out of the anesthesia, you see, the mind was not engaged yet, you see. So I was being, but I didn't know who I was. And perception was happening, but I could not tell you what anything was, you see? But I was being, it was like the mind has not engaged yet, but all I know is that not even me, it's just the I am. It's a sense of being, right? And then little by little, the first thing that came about is it was a gradual process. First, I am being, but I don't even know that I'm being. But then I began to sense, as the mind begins to engage, I began to sense that I am. I began to sense that I am. You see how it's engaging little by little? And then finally went to, oh, this image is, oh, that's my friend. Oh, I am in a hospital bed. Oh, I am in a room. You see how everything's sort of like beginning to engage when the mind started to engage. But prior to all of that, I was just being. Well, that's exactly what happens every morning. Put it to the test. When you wake up in the morning, just kind of write it down to see if you can really get this. When you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes, for those few seconds, you're just being. You're not registering anything. It just that so happens in a fraction of a second. Okay, I'm in bed, I'm at home and everything. But prior to that, you're being. That's the beingness that you are always. So right now, what you're doing is recognizing that always, right now, as I'm speaking, right now, the beingness is. The difference is that now when all these thoughts and everything comes along, you can see them as just that. Now you can use them for practical reasons, for practical purpose, but they're no longer obstacles. They're just seeing. You see, and this is kind of where this is all eventually pointing to. You're resting the I am because you are. Your being, and this is where the words now becomes obsolete. They can point to see if at some point, of course, yes, I am. Does that make sense? I don't know if it did, but I was trying to.
What I'm hearing is there in the being there's safety, and there's like I am, and anything after that is more judgments, like I am unsettled, I am panicked, or something. Actually, just sticking with the first two set words is good.
Yeah, beingness is always. Don't even call it safety. Let's try to step away from labels. Just beingness is. Are you alive right now? Can you sense that you're alive? Can you sense that you are? You see, this is beingness, pure beingness, right now. Now, in this beingness, which is what's happening right now, if there's anything wrong with this beingness, no, it's just what is. The moment a thought engages, now beingness is overlooked. The Course in Miracles says that the light, you can cover it up, but you cannot put it out. See your beingness as you're speaking with me. Your being all the time, your aliveness. Now notice how thoughts begins to narrate beingness, beginning with the narration, I am Josh and I am speaking to Nick. But in reality, without that, what's left? This is life. This is the invitation.
Okay, we've come to the end of our time together. Thank you, Nick. That was wonderful. And take yourself off mute. Show your appreciation to Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Nick.
Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, everyone.